Okay, to make the masthead for our magazine cover, we're going to first go to Adobe Spark, so that's spark.adobe.com. And once we get there, we're going to see and we log in, we're going to see a bunch of different graphics. We want to go to custom size. And when we click on, we're going to get this box that allows us to put in some values. So we're going to put in here 4,000. And we can just do 3,000. And this will give us a nice large box, space to work with, so that when we bring in our graphic and we scale it, we don't lose any quality. Okay, so here's the space we're going to work with. So the first thing we want to do is we want to go in and we want to add to this. So rather than using one of the templates, we're going to go to Add, and you'll notice we have some options here. We're going to go with text because we're looking to make a text masthead that would be on top of a magazine cover. So there's a bunch of templates here, but we really don't want to use those. We want to create our own. So we're going to go to Add Text, and if I was going to create a magazine called Nature, I'd type in Nature right here, and I'd hit Done. And now we see this masthead on the page, and first thing we want to do is we want to scale it up. So we can change the size by clicking this slider. We want it to be wide across the page. Okay, so when we bring it in, it doesn't lose any quality. And then the next thing we want to do is we want to figure out what color we want to make this. So right now we have a background box, which we may or may not use. We probably won't use that. We probably just want to have text and then have a background behind when we create our cover. This is a standalone graphic. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to change the color of our text. So we do that by clicking on Color. And when we do that, we get some suggested colors, different schemes that we can use. So you can pick from these swatches if you wanted to. For example, if I was going to pick, say, this color right here, we can go in and we see how this looks on another background, which is nice. If we click again, we can go in and we can actually get a color slider that gives us different color hues that we can then use depending on what we're looking for. And again, we could also eyedrop out of images or any place else. We can also move in once we find a hue and then pick a particular shade that we like, and then continue to manipulate from there. And then once we're happy with that, we hit Save, and that'll be saved in our little swatches area. So one thing that I want to do is I want to remove the box from the back. I only want to have this graphic, and when we export it out, we're not going to have this big white space. We're only going to have the graphic. We're just kind of using this as an area to kind of check out what we're doing here. So we're going to go on, and we're going to go to where it says Shape. Now, once we get into Shape, we are going to get a drop-down menu that shows us some things like padding and different shapes. We really don't want to shape around this. I don't recommend it. We want to try to go without a shape. We don't see a lot of shapes in masthead, so you'll notice a bunch of stuff here. Avoid it all. Go all the way up to the top and click backing shape and click the no symbol, and that will get rid of it. And now we have a masthead. And depending on what we're doing here, we can add some different effects. Again, I wouldn't go crazy. We can change the font if we wanted to. There are a bunch of different fonts here, so if we wanted to, change this to something else, we can do that. We can pick, different typefaces, and again, manipulate. But depending on, what you're doing, you've got, typefaces here that are provided by Adobe, so you have a good bunch of options here to kind of figure out what you want to do with this cover. Okay, so once we pick out the font that we want to use, then what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to go to effects, and there are different effects that we can put on here, but I wouldn't go crazy with the effects because you can kind of ruin the masthead with the effects. So one that you might want to try is shadow. And shadow is a good one. When we click on shadow, we can manipulate, the distance of the shadow, where it is on the type. We can manipulate the direction. As you see, the shadow is moving. So I want the shadow to kind of just be bumped up above. Give it a little 3D look. And now I'm happy with that. And I'm ready to export out my graphic. So to do that, we're going to go up to download. And when we go to download, we have some options here. We have PNG, we have JPEG, and then we have PDF. Now, if we were going to be doing this as a real magazine cover that was going to be printed, we'd want to use PDF. If you're doing it for an online magazine, you're probably going to want to use PNG. You don't want to use JPEG for this. So if I was going to pick PNG, for example, what I would do is I would hit Start Download. And now, this is a critical question. I have to choose my background type. Do I want a solid color or do I want transparent? Because we're going to be bringing this into another application, we want to choose transparent. And then once we do that, our file will be downloaded. And if we go into the folder, we will now see that file. Okay. If we were going to download as PDF for print, we'd go to download again. We'd click on PDF. We'd hit Start Download. And now that PDF file will be dropped in. So now we have these graphics, and you can bring them into any layout program in Design. You can use Microsoft Word. You could bring them into another Spark document. You could bring them into any application you wanted as either a PNG, which is perfect for high quality on the screen with transparency, or you can use them as PDF if you were going to print. Next, we're going to lay out the magazine cover in Microsoft Word, and we're going to show you how to do that now. I just have a new blank document, and first thing I want to do is I want to bring in my image. So I'm going to go to Insert, and I'm just going to go to Pictures. And when I do that, I'm just going to navigate out to the desktop where I have a piece of stock art. The image does not have the resolution that it needs. Just keep that in mind. And how do we know that? When we look at it, we see it's a JPEG. It's only 167K, but we're going to use it just for this example. Okay, so keep in mind that you want to have a larger image for print, and watch when you scale because you will degrade the image quality. But we're going to make this kind of like almost like a background. So as soon as I bring it in, the first thing I have to do is I have to go to wrap text, and I want to do that immediately because I want to be able to use this as a layout rather than inline. So I'm just going to immediately go to more layout options, and when I do that, I get this window, and I want to go to in front of text. This will allow this graphic to be in front of things, and it'll allow me to move it around. Next thing I want to do is I want to go to position. And in position, we want to make sure that we have absolute position checked off, and we're going to make it page, page. And we're going to allow overlap. Don't worry about the table cell thing. Size, if we wanted to make this larger through here organically, we can do that. We can scale it up, and it'll scale in here. And then once we do that, we click OK, and we're out of it. So once I do that, I can also scale this manually. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to always grab the corner, and I hold the shift key because I'm a trained graphic designer. I'm going to pull this up, and what we want is we want this to kind of fill the whole page. But you'll notice once we set that, now we can move this whole thing around, and we can position it how we want it. If we wanted it down a little bit more to make it a little bit larger, if it had the resolution, we could do that. We can make it a little bit smaller, scale it down, and position it however we want. So we've got it in here this way. It looks good. And now what we're going to do is we're going to drop in the masthead that we made in Adobe Spark. So we're going to go to Insert, Pictures, and I've already saved out the masthead. It might save out as Post if you don't name it, so I just renamed it Masthead. Because we saved it as a PNG with transparency, we're going to be able to bring it in, but you notice we don't see it. So the first thing we need to do is, again, we can go right to this box, and again, we're looking at layout options. We can click it, and we can simply hit See More, and we get this layout box again. And what I want to do is I want to go to text wrapping, and I want to go to in front of text. It has nothing to do with front or back on the two images. It just has to do with a wrap with another object because we don't want any text wrap. We're going to then go to position, and we're going to set it page, page, and we want overlap to be allowed. Don't worry about size. We can scale it organically in here manually. We click OK. And now we see our masthead come forward. If it didn't come forward, we'd have to use these bring forward buttons or bring to front. So now that we have it, what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to scale it. And you notice what's so cool about it is that it comes in transparent. So because I made it large, I only have to scale it up a little bit. Again, I'm going to grab the corner. I'm going to lay it right here. And now I have the masthead over the image for the magazine cover. The next step would be to place text in here. Now that we have the background image in and the masthead, we're going to create a text box. And to do that, we're just going to go down and draw a text box. And that will allow us to draw a box right here anywhere we want. So we're going to be putting a little teaser right here. We'll make the box. And don't worry that it's white right now. It actually makes it easier to see. And we're just going to put a fake little headline here, Plant Life. And now what we can do is we can highlight it, go out to Home, drop down, and we want to use one font on the cover in different styles, or two fonts maximum. We don't want to go crazy with fonts because we can make the cover look horrible. I'm going to use this Franklin Gothic black, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to make this white. Now we can't see it in the box, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to be able to, number one, go to the layout options, and I want to see more. And again, I want to go in and set my text wrapping to in front of text, and my position needs to be page, page. I'm going to click OK, but now I have to address the fact that my text is not being seen. So the reason it's not being seen is because of the background. So I'm going to click on, and what I want to do is I want to click on Format. And Format right underneath will allow me to manipulate the shape fill. So I want the fill to be no fill, and I want the outline to be no outline. And now I highlight the text, I can go back to home. I can make this text much larger. And now I have a little teaser here. And now I'm going to lay some text underneath. To do that, I'm going to put another text box under here. We're going to insert another text box underneath the headline on the cover. So we want to click Insert, Text Box, Draw Text Box. And now we can draw a box underneath here. Don't worry about the white for now. We'll change that in a second. And now we'll just type 2 sentences that kind of describe the article. So what we've done is we've typed this in here, and now we want to highlight it. We want to go to Home, and we want to change it to the same font that we use, the Franklin Gothic. And once we do that, we have it here, and looks good. We want to make sure it's not too large, so 11 point looks good. That's a good size. We need to go in and change the color of the text to white, and we can do that by simply highlighting it and going to the text color, which is white. And then we're going to take the fill color, and we're going to take that and we're going to change that. And to do that, we're going to go to Format, Shape Fill, No Fill, and Shape Outline, No Outline. And we want to make sure that there are no color in the box. And now we have this set up. We can manipulate this. And as we zoom in, we put this in 2 boxes on purpose so that we can place this just perfectly underneath. We can take the plant life, make it bold, and now as we zoom out, we can take these 2 pieces, shift click them, move them down, and now we have our magazine cover. We can add in one more thing. We can add in another box underneath here with the year and the date, or the edition date. And to do that, again, we would hit Insert. We'd go Text Box, Draw Text Box. We're going to put that right underneath here. And now we will just type in April 2020. I'm going to go to Home again, and I'm going to align this to the right so that it's at the edge. And again, we need to change the text color. We can highlight it and go to white, and then we're going to go to Format, and we're going to change the fill of the box to none, and we're going to change the outline of the box to no outline. And now, just to check the size of this, it's 11. We have to change the font because we want this to all be consistent. So we'll take our Franklin Gothic, and instead of 11, we're going to make this 9. And now when we look, we have our cover, and it includes the masthead that we made in Spark, a background image, and some very simple typography.